Don't be nervous. Hello, Romance Landia. It's me, Siera London, along with my co-host, author Loren. There she is.
Yay.
And together we are Women on Words, and we have a new guest with us tonight who has never given on the show. So join us in welcoming Selena Michaels. Hello, Selena.
Hi,
Hi, thank you for
Selena.
having me.
We are so happy to have you now. Because we don't have much time, this 30 minutes goes by fast. I'm going to jump right in and read your bio so our listeners can get to know a little bit about you. Viewers, sorry about that. Selena Michaels writes romance novels with adult age characters, which we like, and lots of twists you'll never see coming. Her novels often stem from her own experiences growing up in small town Pennsylvania, along with other people's experiences she's met along her life journey. Selena is a devoted parentheses obsessed fan of anime and has an extensive collection of manga that graces her office as she writes. She currently lives in Virginia with me, with her amazingly supportive husband, her adorable son, and I've seen his pictures on Facebook, and her spoiled yet precious dog. Very nice. Now, tell us, how long have you been writing and what do you write?
I have been writing for years, but I
Okay.
took a huge break to go to college. And
Okay.
writing was one of those things where, people are like, oh, it's just, you're not going to make a career out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just did it for fun, and I would like rope all my friends into it. I'd be like, hey, write the story with me. And they're like, why are we killing so many people? We're in high school. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's just what we're doing. And romance was always there, but it's always like that adolescence kind of romance. And it wasn't until like COVID hit and I finished
Yeah.
college, and I'm like, okay, I finished college. Now what?
Oh,
Now what do I
wow.
do? I was like, I got
Okay.
my degree. It came in the mail because I didn't get to walk, and I'm just like, yep, what do I do now?
Yep.
I was
Okay.
like, well, why don't you just write that book, since like nobody's hiring because everything was closed? You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
normally you would, apply for jobs after college. That's the plan, right? But COVID hit,
Yeah.
so like everything closed down, and nobody was leaving their houses. And he's like, well, why don't you just write that book you've been talking about for like 8 years? And I was like, I guess. So I did it, and I sent it
Wow.
in unedited.
Okay. All right. That's a lesson learned, I'm sure.
Oh,
But
yeah,
go
first
on.
lesson. I sent it in unedited, and it got accepted like after 3 rejections. So I was like
Wow.
really surprised, like floored, because I expected
Hmm.
like thousands of rejections. Like, no, thank you. So yeah, that's kind of how this all started.
Wow. So, okay. So that's an amazing story because I mean, there are a lot of stories to come out of COVID and the pandemic, but for you to, be one of the young folks, millennials, I'm assuming, right? In that age group to be faced with, a pandemic, a shrinking economy, all these things going on. And you're like, hey, with your husband's blessing, I'm going to start that writing career that I'm assuming you dreamed of, as a young girl. And how
Yeah.
did it feel when after, 3 times up at bat that, you got that publishing contract? What was that day like?
That day was like I got it in my email, and I looked at it, and I was like, no, this can't be real. Because because we, as going through like the internet and everything, there's so many like people who are like, hey, I've got a good job for you,
Mm-hmm.
$500 a day. You just give
Mm-hmm.
me all your information, and I'll get you rich, right? So I'm looking at this
Fishing,
contract, and
spamming,
I'm like, nope,
spearing.
this can't be real. This is not what Stephen King said was going to happen. Therefore, it must be wrong.
Yes, Steve
So
ain't
it was
going right.
it was
Yes.
just like tears, and then like research because you have to like look into things. And then I was like, oh wait, it is real. And my husband's like, are you sure? I'm like, it is real. Yeah. And he's like, well, then you did it. And I was like,
Wow.
I did it.
Yeah. Congratulations too, because that is a very unique story, and it's a really good news story considering, the times that we're in right now. So that's great to hear some great news come out of that. And I'm gonna let Lisa jump in, because otherwise I'll be like, tell us all about that book and what it was about. But I'll stop now.
Before we get into the book, I'm nosy, so I'm trying to get into the business. You had a lot of stuff in your bio that was personal, but you just told us you just graduated from college during the pandemic. So I'm assuming last year, and you're married. So you're awfully young to be married. And starting a career, and how do you handle all of that during a pandemic?
I don't really know. I mean, we've been married for so long, and by long, I mean long for millennial standards, because, we're now in the age where, women are like, hey, I'm not putting up with craziness. You know what I mean? Like my grandparents, they put up with lots of stuff back in, their days. So a lot of my friends got married and they'd be like divorced within a year or two. So we've been married for 6 or 7. I don't keep count. Facebook tells me.
Yes.
Social media tells me how many years, and I'm
just tell me. Facebook tells her how long she's been married.
I appreciate those memories that pop up. I really do.
I really do. We don't really count.
But we over 50 for Siera.
It seems like we've been together for like
that. Okay.
I said we.
But we were military, so we're used to like uprooting our lives and moving and making new friends and not having jobs when we get there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're kind of used to having to like figure it out and just make things up. I think I had 3 home businesses in the past like 4 years, just like during school, being pregnant, sickness, all that. So we're used to doing that, we're used to just making it work. And that's just kind of how this happened too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. You said something interesting. I am currently a military spouse, and I was active duty. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because you kept saying we're used to up and moving, not having jobs, starting over, not having friends. But in reality, your husband had a job, right? You moved, the career kept you moving. So this is a reality of military spouses. And if you all are out there, listening, you can relate to, the flexibility you have to have in your career with or without a degree. The reality that you may be moving every 2 or 3 years and, uprooting, new house, new neighbors, new child care providers, losing your favorite restaurants, your favorite gym, whatever, all of those things. Yes, all of those things.
Like, how dare you move to Virginia? Come here. It's just like, we're in Japan. The army moved us to Japan. I'm like, right, but you're coming to Virginia next, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So I have to ask you, as a former military spouse, did that impact the story? Because you talk about your own journey being a part of your writing journey. So how, that resiliency, that ability to be flexible, how did that play into your writing and getting this book done, or the first story that you published?
I guess because you meet so many different people and you're in so many different places. Now, we weren't part of the military that long, I think like 5 or 6 years. So, and we stayed at like one duty station, which is rare. It is a rare occurrence to stay at one duty station. We tried to leave, but it was like a black hole just sucking us in. Those who watch know exactly where I'm talking about. They didn't want us to leave. Anyway, but so you meet a bunch of people from different walks of life, and you have to figure out how to make it work. You know what I mean? Especially at the duty station we were at, it was so small. And I am, as introverted as I may seem, I'm actually a very extroverted person once you get me like warmed up.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, hey, we got to go to like the neighbors. They're having a party. And my husband's like, no, I don't know them. No. And I'm like, let's go. Let's go. They just moved in. And he's like, they don't want us there. And I'm like, yeah, they do. Sure. And you see so many different things. Like I remember I met this woman. She was from Britain, and her accent, I'm also a very odd person. I will walk up to you and be like, hey, you're so beautiful. And I'll be like, hello. I don't do that. But she was talking. I was like, oh my gosh, your accent's so pretty. Hi, how are you? She's like,
I love it.
Is that your son? And I was like, thank God for having kids so I don't seem weird. Yes. We got to talking, and she told me, you know, about the different duty stations overseas. She had just come back from like Germany, and you know, you see people who have other family members living with them. Some of my friends had like their mother-in-laws or their grandfathers, grandmothers living with them. There were people who came from Taiwan, Hawaii, you know, and you meet people with different cultures. Oh man, I had so much good food. Like on base, everybody just wants to like feed you. And when Thanksgiving rolled around, because nobody was really, not that many people left. So it was like when you ran out of peas on base, you know, everybody was like, hey, you got any peas? And on Facebook, people would come together and be like, oh yeah, I've got 4 cans of peas. You got salt? I got salt. And it was like, I remember, I didn't even know this couple, they made me greens. I was just like, I just wish I had greens because I miss my mom so much. And they're like, why don't you come to our house? My husband, he makes greens. So I showed up and they gave me greens. And I was like, my friend for life. I love you.
That's military. That's the military life. I absolutely.
The cohesion and the like togetherness that you get. And that's kind of like where I get my stories from. And, you know, a lot of my stories have a lot of heartache and pain and, you know, characters who go through things that aren't what maybe everyday people go through. But I get these stories from people that I've met, you know, or I've lived it, or I've walked it, or I've seen it, you know, and I just want to write about it and put it out there and just be.
Okay. All right. So since you went there, I'm going to go there. All right. So your first book, The Sicilian Obsession, which is very sexy title and a very sexy book. And you're from small town Pennsylvania. So do you have Sicilian obsessions going on there? Are you snitching on somebody? What's going on? Tell us about that book.
No. Okay. I had a very vivid imagination.
Okay.
And without snitching too much, they know who they are. Family that I knew had the same last name as my characters. And I just always very Sicilian. They all spoke Sicilian, very close-knit family. And I just was like, you know, I wonder if they're in the mob. That was just, I don't know. My sister was just like,
oh, they're not watching this.
It's just like,
Lisa, we're in
your
danger.
mind is a scary place. And I'm like, I bet you. And I was like, you know, I bet you. And then when I was like, oh, I should do a series. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write about that mafia family. Yeah. Yeah. and you know, hope they don't sue me.
That would be mafia family. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So tell us about the hero in that book, in the Sicilian Obsession. Who is he, and tell us about him? Why would we love him?
Arturo Cruz is ex-military who deals with some PTSD. He also is very closed off and unfeeling, if you will. Like you can see it in like his thoughts that he does feel, but he doesn't like show it. And when he meets Katima, it's like he thinks she's a spoiled princess that he has to protect. And so that's really where he is. He's Puerto Rican, muscly. Everybody loved the cover. scars, tattoos, and I believe he's about 30.
Okay.
Most of my male characters are about 30 years old because that's around the same age
Okay.
as my husband.
Katima. Okay, Lisa, over to you. I
Oh,
like it. I like their names alone. I mean, that
the,
just sounds sexy.
the covers are extremely sexy. I love the men on the covers of both of the. I'm just looking at the cover. I'm sorry, I got lost. Little man candy. But so your second book is the Sicilian Princess. So I assume since he said Fatima was his princess, it's all about her. And the second
No,
book.
it's actually about a different couple.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Rosalina Pacone is a mafia princess, and Nikolai Falcone is a did we lose her?
She'll come back.
He is from a rival mafia family, and they meet up in like Texas. They're both on the run, and they're both like hiding from each other, like hiding secrets from each other as they come together on this. They have like a dynamic of a little bit of a BDSM dynamic.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of age play in there. Not so much little and big, but more like, call me daddy kind of deal.
Okay. I can do that.
now how BDSM does it get? Is it like light, like Christian Grey, or does it get dark?
It's I would say light. We don't get dark until further into the series. Just spankings. So, but everything is above board and consensual in this one.
Okay.
And this one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to play around with the dynamics, and I actually didn't realize I was doing an age play book until I was done. I was just like, it was just one of those things that just came naturally for them as I was, bringing them to life on the page. So when I was reading, everything was finalized, and I think we were about a week before it went live on Amazon. Mm-hmm. I realized my publisher had put like a little blurb on the back, like kind of like a warning, and it was like age play dynamic, and I was like, really?
And you didn't even know.
I love it. You don't write these things. I was like, I know. It's such a surprise to me as well.
Okay, it definitely sounds like you're just having fun with your characters, and as the story develops, you just go with it. I love. Yes. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, so tell us, was there? I know that book got picked up right away. Your first book, and you actually have 4 books out now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I had to count in my head. Yes.
Okay. So, tell us about your third book, or is that a separate series?
The other 2 are standalones.
Okay.
That I did before I did the series.
Okay.
So Behind Two Screens was my very first book, and then Mistress Restrained was my second book, and they're both standalones in basically a different universe.
Okay.
Yeah, no connection whatsoever. I was actually going to do lots more standalones, like the Sicilian Obsession was supposed to be a standalone, and somehow a series was born.
Yes. Our characters tend to do that, give birth to more characters. So Mistress Restrained, that's one of the covers that pops up big on your website when I was checking you out earlier. Tell us about that.
That was my first play around with BDSM. Jennifer is a dominatrix who has kind of lost her way. She can't seem to top anymore, and she doesn't know why. And Dean is a submissive alpha male who is CEO and head of his company. And he meets Jennifer. He sees her for what she is. And, they kind of come together and figure it out. Figure out why she can't pop anymore, figure out why he's not, the perfect submissive. And that's really what the story focuses on. Yeah.
Now, is that an interracial romance as well?
Yes. Dean is mixed. He's Black and white, and Jennifer is Caucasian.
Okay. Interesting. That sounds really interesting, intriguing. A dominatrix who has kind of lost her way. Unwilling to top that. Well, the cover is beautiful. I have to tell you that you have lovely covers. Do you have anything to do with the covers? And Jane online says, "Wow, it's so great to see so many of my favorite authors in one place." Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Angel, for joining. Yeah, and thank you for joining us, Angel. So, do you have anything to do with your covers and the beautiful people on them?
I do. I kind of give my cover artist a feel for what I'm looking for. For the Sicilian series, she picked out the first cover, and I was just like, yeah, like 100%. There was no guesstimation. Yeah. For the second book, she sent me a couple of models, and she said, "What do you think? Like, who is like really, calling to you?" And that's how he got on the second one. For Behind Two Screens, I was like, I just didn't care. I just wanted the book out. I was like, yes. I was like, sexy. And for Mistress Restrained, I just wanted something that showed it had a little bit of BDSM, which is where the blindfold kind of comes into play, without it being too BDSM, if that makes sense. I didn't want like handcuffs or anything on there because I wasn't 100% sure. I just wanted it like a little bit of a light touch,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
That's awesome. Now, looking at your covers, from appearance, just the first look, it doesn't appear that the characters are multicultural or multiracial. How do you combat that when readers are asking, "Oh, is this supposed to be an IR?" Because sometimes our readers, they depend on the book cover to tell them if the book is, multicultural or interracial.
Great question.
Well, to be honest, that is a good question, but I haven't had readers reach out about that. I had, I think, one reader who was like, for the Sicilian Obsession, she's like, "Is he supposed to be the lead on the cover?" And I was like, "Yeah, a little bit." And she's like, "Okay." I just wanted to have a feel like of what he looked like in my mind. But I haven't had anybody reach out and say anything. Not yet. But I don't know what I would say. I am trying to get my covers to be more diverse. Because my characters are more diverse. I don't just do, I know a lot of, when you're reading me, you think, "Oh, she's going to do interracial romance." And I do, but not so much that it's interracial to just Black and white. Like I want all different kinds of characters. So I think of myself as a multicultural author because I'm always diving into some new race or religion or something. Just to learn more, and I'm always researching. I'm always looking into different people, and I want my cast list for my series to be larger. You know what I mean? Yes. So for like the Sicilian series, all the men are Sicilian, except for Arturo. I didn't want that for all of my series. And I feel like a lot of series do that, but with being, a military spouse, we meet so many different people from so many different walks of lives. True. That's how I want it to be. If I create a business or something, I want to have all those different diverse heritages within the series, and not just as like side characters, like as in they're getting their own books and I'm going to do research to figure out who they are.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that too. I really, really am. And Lisa and I have had this conversation before because so often, a reader will pick up your book and they love it and they want more of the same. maybe not the same story, but if they pick up an interracial romance that features, a heroine of color and a white hero, then they want more of that. So I think it's wonderful with your particular audience if you're not getting pushback on introducing more and more diverse characters into your to your series. I don't know. Maybe that's a change coming in the industry. I don't know, Lisa.
I don't. I don't know what I would do if I got pushback. I just feel like, is the pushback from the right people? You know what I mean? So if I have a Samoan character, and this is kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing. If I have a Samoan character and Samoan people go, hey, that's not right, or hey, you didn't write this right, then I'm probably going to do another Samoan character with the right ways. But I would like to know. I don't want to be out here in these streets just looking crazy.
Right.
Good point.
Is that I am multi-raced, so mixed is what I say. So is my son. So are my family members. So I try to reach out to people and say, hey, this is the character that I have. I would like to hear from, firsthand experience what you like to see in media, because I want to, a wise author said that you want to give these voices, like make them be heard and seen without it just being like, they're side characters who that's all they have about them,
Right. Yes.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yes.
So what's coming down the pike next?
Well, we still have 2 more books in this series. The Sicilian Heir drops June 16th, and then we have the Sicilian Bastard in July.
Oh,
yeah.
I like.
And then we have a completely different series. The Twisted Morals series will be starting in August of this year.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. And where can readers find you? Do you have any events coming up, either virtual or in person this year?
I don't think so this year, because a lot of things are virtual. I just did a couple of events for this month. This month was really busy. So I don't think I have any more events. If I was going to do an in-person one, there was one in October in my area that I might be going to, but I don't have the word on whether or not I'm going to be physically there. But I'm all over social media, my website, and I post everywhere. So I'm really easy to find.
Okay. And what's your primary platform? Are you a Facebooker or Instagrammer, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok?
I would say Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Facebook for, author things, Instagram for author things, but also other authors, because I'm also, I'm always reading. So I'm always posting other authors' work and quotes and stuff that I find that I think do really well for books that really catch my attention and stuff. So that's like my Bookstagram. And then I'm just starting on TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just
me neither.
On there.
Neither of us.
I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok. Yeah.
So you're Selena Michaels on Facebook. Are you that on Instagram as well? Or
I'm author Selena Michaels on Instagram and Selena Michaels on TikTok.
And it's selenamichaels.com for your website.
Okay, wonderful.
So yeah.
Yeah, your website is quite lovely. It's very easy to navigate too. Now you have to tell us, okay, what was I going to say? Give us, since you're relatively new to the industry, what would you say to aspiring writers interested in breaking into publishing? What would you say to them now?
I would say write your book and don't read anything in that subgenre while you're writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
while I wrote my Mafia series, I refused to read any Mafia romance. And all of the Mafia authors were like, boom, dropped a new book.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
can't read until 2 months from now, but so excited.
Yes.
What happens is when you read another author's work, you start to either incorporate it into your own, or you start to have that inferior complex where you think, oh, well, why am I even writing this when, Zoe Blake wrote an epic romance about, arranged marriage, and mine is just a piece of crap, and you just throw it away, and you take longer to write it. Don't read anything in your subgenre. Don't.
Yeah, I'm almost of the mindset sometimes like, don't read squat while you're writing. Just write your book.
If I'm writing a security firm, anything that has security firms in it, nope. Daddy romance, no daddy romance. I just write what I'm writing, and when I'm done the series, then I'll go back to reading, daddy romance, security, mafia. Now I'm done the mafia series, so I can read all the mafia that everybody has been talking about. Sometimes I stop reading dark romance 100%.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely agree with you on that. Lisa, any final words before we sign off?
No final words. We're just excited that you are a new writer to me. So I'm excited to meet you, and thank you for blessing us with your work. And I look forward to reading more of your stories.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so we hope to have you back on the show sometime soon. You'll have to come on back and drop that Samoan, drop some more hints about what's coming down the pike, and let us know where you're gonna be when you get your calendar, your social calendar all filled out. Let us know where you're gonna be so we can share it. And what else do I want to say? Okay, author Loren, she has a new book out. Okay, Whiskey Sour. It just dropped. It's it was really the third book in the whiskey series, really. Okay, because you have Tennessee's Whiskey, Southern Comfort, and now you have Whiskey Sour. So kind of in the same family. And so y'all go check that out. And Selena, for our viewers who are new to you, where would you want them to start in your catalog? Which book? Go ahead and tell us which book.
Mistress Restrained.
Oh, yes, lovely, because that's where I want to start.
That's where I would say to start.
Yes, that's where I want to start too. Okay, everybody. Until next time, be amazing, be wow. We'll see you next Thursday. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.